Another news, Donald Trump has authorized the CIA to carry out covert operations inside Venezuela, warning that he's also considering land operations there. It comes as the US military has been conducting a series of deadly strikes against alleged drug smuggling vessels in the Caribbean. 4 Venezuelan boats have been destroyed since early September, killing 27 people. Well, to discuss the significance of the CIA operation, we're joined now by Philip Gunson, Senior Consultant for the Andes region at the International Crisis Group. Thanks so much, Philip, for being with us on the programme. It's not so long since we spoke about the situation in Venezuela. Will this development significantly ramp up tensions, do you think, with Washington? What do you make of it?
I think it's intended to. I think this is best interpreted as part of a propaganda war that the Trump administration has been waging against the Maduro government here in Venezuela for the past couple of months, at least, since they sent this huge fleet to the Southern Caribbean, ostensibly on an anti-drugs mission. And I say that because I think the announcement is intended to intimidate Maduro. It's intended to convince him that if he doesn't leave, if he doesn't step down from power, then the US is going to come in and get him. But I think we're a long way from that yet, potentially. I think, in fact, it's kind of absurd, if you like, to announce publicly a supposedly clandestine operation. And it looks much more like trying to increase the pressure than it does any kind of serious operation internally, which is not to say that there won't be attempts by the US in perhaps the next couple of weeks, maybe to blow up something inside Venezuela that they can plausibly claim has to do with what they call a narco-terror cartel run by Maduro.
So the two aren't at this stage sliding any closer to an outright conflict, though, then, Philip. When Trump then talks about potential land operations, is that just an empty threat, do you think, or what's the thinking behind that?
It's well known that Donald Trump is very reluctant to invade Venezuela, or indeed anywhere. I mean, he's very reluctant to get involved in any kind of protracted conflict. He doesn't want to put US servicemen and women in harm's way if he can get his way by threats or by sending over a few rockets. So I think that's the next stage that we might see. The Venezuelans, of course, don't really have much of a response to this in conventional military terms. If the US fleet and the weaponry that's deployed out there were to be used in earnest, then the Venezuelan resistance, conventional resistance, its armed forces would collapse very shortly. And Maduro knows that. So Maduro is not interested in any kind of escalation. And again, Trump doesn't want an escalation if he can possibly avoid it.
And does the CIA actually have authority here to take action against the Venezuelan president? Is this a violation of international law, as some commentators are suggesting?
Well, no doubt it is. I mean, in fact, it's a violation of the UN Charter to do what Trump is doing at the moment, which is to use force to attempt to force a change of government in a foreign country. In terms of US domestic law, of course, there is, I think it's an executive order which limits the president's ability to order assassinations overseas. But being an executive order, it's something that Trump himself could clearly revoke. And he's shown very little interest in adhering either to US domestic law or to international law when it comes to this kind of thing. Of course, the boats that we've seen blown up in the Caribbean have also been blown up in defiance of international norms and the US military code.
And CIA involvement, it's also a sensitive topic, isn't it, in Latin America? Maduro pointing out that, in his response to this CIA operation, this covert operation, he's describing those actions that the CIA has carried out over the years as a coup.
Yes, the CIA, of course, has a very bad reputation in Latin America and in other parts of the world. It's worth bearing in mind, though, that when the CIA has contributed to the overthrow of foreign governments, it's always needed some kind of military force involved as well. And the CIA on its own is not going to be able to overthrow Maduro, although it could certainly conceivably engage in in targeted assassinations or other forms of sabotage attempts to undermine the government. I think the thing is that if the US is serious about changing the government here without any form of agreement, without any form of prior negotiation with the outgoing regime, with the armed forces in particular, then it's going to need a US military presence on the ground. It's not going to be possible to change the government. At least it's not going to be possible to secure in terms of the defense of an incoming government. It's not going to be possible to keep that government safe and to ensure a smooth transition unless there's some kind of military assistance. And obviously they won't be able to count on the armed forces of Venezuela that they have described as a narco-terrorist cartel.
Philip, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thanks for being with us, though, on the programme. That's Philip Gunson, Senior Consultant for the Andes region at the International Crisis Group.